So today we'll speak and continues our last session, form handlings, as we said, and also we created simple database connection in previous session, inserted some data, and also used the get and post methods of forms. So that was a brief information or introduction to forms in PHP. Actually, we are creating forms in HTML, but we process data of that form using the PHP. You can process those data using the JavaScript also or any other server-side language. Why server-side language? Because when you process some data in forms, that means that we are requesting some data from database or you are storing some data to database. That's why we need a server-side language. A server-side language for our database connection. So when we are working on forms, actually we are working on data. So where we store data? We store data on databases or SQL-based database or non-SQL databases. Actually, you are storing data. And we are storing data, you're working on data, then we need to have a server-side language. Our server-side language for this form is PHP. And as an example, as we worked on last session, we stored some data. We create the table in MySQL, and then we connect it to that table, and we stored some data on that table, and also we validated data. We validated data. If the data saved successfully, show me some data. If there is a specific data or specific row counts, then show me error. If there's no error, save data. That was simply easy MySQL I API. MySQL I. So as a homework, you should work on PHP DBO statement or PDO. PDO as the statements or prepared statements to connect to database and retrieve data, store data, delete data using PDO. In this class, we will work using MySQL I, but you should get knowledge, you should research on PDO also. PDO is somehow better and a new API for MySQL I use and PHP that's somehow efficient and also easy and also parameterized that prevents MySQL injections or SQL injections and some other known methods of hackings or getting data. The PDO is suggested, but we will go through the MySQL that's basic because you need to know basics, then you will go on advanced. That the advanced is on you. You must need. So today we will speak about form validation. Form validation. Why we should validate a form? Why we should validate? As we said, we need to check if data is correct or not. The data we are sending, the data we are receiving should be the correct data that we are searching or we wanted to receive it or we wanted to store it. So form validations for as I said, this and next chapters how to use PHP validation form data. PHP form validation. What's PHP form validation? Think security when processing PHP forms. As yesterday we said, you are sending some forms data. You should think of security. What's security? When you are sending some sensitive data, then which method is good? How we can achieve that goal? Or we are sending some unnecessary data. Again, which method is better? Which method is faster? You should choose wisely. As says, this page will show how to process forms and security in mind. Proper validation of form data is important and protect you from hackers and spammers. Why hackers and spammers? Hackers, some people that grab some data from you or steal some data from you. Spammers, some people that they spam, they generate fake traffic to you or sending fake data for you, then we need to validate. We need to validate to avoid hackers and spammers, not only hackers. We need to avoid from spammers also. So there's some examples in the fields. We have a field named name. In the name, it must be required, must only contain letters and white space. Must only contain letters and white space, not numbers. Numbers not allowed. So how we can achieve this? We can achieve using the form validation methods. Another is email. Email should be required and also must contain a valid email address with and dot. So and means you should point to a domain, and dot means that the domain must have a extension or maybe .com, .edu or something else according to that. Complete form of email. Again, another is website. Website can be optional. If present, it must contain a valid URL. It must have a valid URL, not only ABC. The complete form of URLs having the protocols and also the addresses, the domains, and also the domain extension. Another is comment, optional multi-line support. We can use a text area field. Gender, record must select one. How we can achieve this? These are the challenges that we face. These are the challenges we are developing a website or developing a forum. So how we can achieve these goals? We can achieve them by form validations. Form validations. So if you open our project, we worked on that. So if you check the previous time, we said that it must be filled. It must be filled. Both of them were required. Both of them were required. So when you click, it says, please fill out this field. Please fill out this. This is a basic form validation. This the basic form validation that we are validating that it must be filled. It must be filled. So please fill me out. So what's this? This is the required attribute of an input. Required attribute of the HTML form inputs. So this is the basic one. And also we did this one. If you store this but not this one, says it's also required. You must fill this one. If you have an email here, it's if your this field is string, that's email, and we are still storing like this. When we click this, it says this is not a correct email. How we can achieve this? Let's open our code. So test form. I don't know why it's too much. So now instead of the last name, I want to do the type should be email. Oh, sorry, email. Now, if I insert some data that's not email, it will show me that you must insert an email. That's a basic validation that comes from HTML itself. So I'm storing this one and also some data on here and also some images from here. Now, see, it says, please include an add in the email address. Data is missing and add. If I add this one, also it says now, please enter the following data. After the ads, it must have some followings also. So an email has the name, the ad, the domain, and the domain extension. It must be a complete form of the email. This is a basic one. So how we can achieve this? Search for text fields. The first one for the text fields. The name, email, and website fields are text input elements, and the main comment field is a text area. So for texts, we have an input type text. I think you know about input types because you learned the web design subject already. Haven't you tried this or no? Did you learn it? Did you know the types? You don't know the types. Let me show you from the tutorials here. The HTML tutorial and HTML forms. HTML form input types. So for your better input, in HTML we have these types. In HTML we have these types. What are these? Firstly, input type button. It will insert a button. It will insert a button. That's a type button. Another, we have a checkbox that you can check multiple one. Another, we have a color picker. So let's try this. Let me copy paste all of them and see without any class and everything. Control C at the end before my button. Let me insert all of them. Save. Reload. Now I have all of them but not arranged. Now I have all of them but not arranged. First one was button without any text. This is a button without any text. Another is checkbox that I can check and check it. And the last, if you see, the first one is a button. There's a button. There's a button without any text. I can insert a text on it. I can insert a text on that. You can show the value like click me. And using Bootstrap, I can add a class on this. Using Bootstrap, I can add a class, or using HTML and CSS. CSS only you can add some your own stylings. But since my Bootstrap is ready here, I will choose the Bootstrap. I can add the BTN like danger for this, for a red button. Now I have a red button that says click me. That says click me. When you click this one, nothing will happen. Why nothing will happen? Because I haven't figured anything for this. I just introduced this one. Another is a checkbox. I have a checkbox here. Let me zoom this. So, visible for everyone? Yes, in you're busy. So, we have a checkbox. You see, we have a checkbox over there. You can sit there if it's not visible to you. Another is the color. You can pick a color. You can pick a color. There's a color. You can pick it. We use them in our forms. Use them in our forms. These are form inputs. That was a good question. Why I was expecting this? So HTML types, the different types that we can use in our forms using the PHP HTML. Why? Because we create forms in HTML, not in PHP. We process them in PHP. We create them in HTML, but we process them in PHP. So for creating, we must know these types. So when we need the button, we need the checkbox, we need the color picker or something else. So how we can use the color picker? When you're creating maybe an e-commerce website, you are selling some clothes. Then you can mention the colors using the color picker. That this is the color for my website. This clothes has this color. This shows this has this color. The sneakers has this color. So this is the color. Another is date. You can pick a date. You can click here, the calendar will open and you can pick up a date. You can pick a date. Another is time span also. A date with time. The correct input is date time local. Date time local for getting date and time also. Date and time together. This will be useful when you are inserting some data for accuracy of your data. You can use this. Another form is the input text. You can store text like anything, storing names, last names, family names, or something else. Another is email. You can insert email. Again, you can insert email here, as we did work in here, this one. The email should have some basic forms of email. Another is file for storing or uploading images, documents, videos, music, anything that accepts files, and we can do validations. Another is a hidden input. A type hidden. Why we use hidden? Sometimes we need to update some data. We need to update some data. For processing that update, we need to have the ID of that data in a hidden form, in a hidden input type. So it will not be visible to everyone, just visible to us. That's not recommended. It's not recommended. You must avoid this one. You must avoid this one. Another is image. You can only use the image for this one. This is also the image. You can also use the image number, any image you want, but it needs submit. So the next one, so mount, number, password, radio, range, reset, search, submit, telephone, text. These are the types. So with draw types, so this is the time, the month. Another we have a number field. You can insert numbers. I think this after number. What was the password? You can insert the password like this is my password. It will not be visible. This is my password, but it will not be visible to you. Why? Because we have used the type password to avoid the visibility of our passwords or the client passwords. Another is the radio. Radios are some good fields. We can choose only one, not but more. This is radio button. It is the opposite of checkbox. You can check multiple options, but in radios you must choose one. You must choose one. For genders, we use radio buttons. Even a person is male or female. But outside Afghanistan, we have lots of genders. So we won't speak on that. But in Afghanistan, or generally in Islamic countries, we have only male and female. We don't have any type of others. Another is the range. Another is the range selector. You can choose the range also. And the next is the button that resets our data. Reset. It will clear our form. It will clear our form. Sometime may be required. Not enough. Time is not important. Another is search. You can search something and then click the button submit. They tell the text, the time, the URL, and the week. These are the date types you must know before they going to into form validations. So here is also the explanations that text fields we have text as the radio buttons. You can use the radio type and the name the same. For radio buttons, the name should be the same. For choosing one only. Between some of them, you're choosing one only. The name should be the same. As we said, the gender. The name is gender. The value may be female, male, and other, or something else. The form elements, the form itself should be the same as we use in HTML. And also we can use the other method types. Then we will come on that. So I think this will be enough. As the time is ended, we will come on more of them next day, inshallah. So, any questions? Any ambiguous points? Nothing. For tomorrow, that we have the PHP lesson or the advanced web, I will ask about PDO from all of you. PDO, PHP PDO. Yasin, notice that. Tomorrow, I will ask first from you. What's PDO? PDO.